What's up YouTube? My name's Gavlaaar88 and I'm back yet again with another brand new video, and today we are going to be checking out the GameSir G7, an affordable wired controller designed for both Xbox as well as PC. It has a slick design, back paddles as well as a nice software companion, making the G7 a cheaper alternative to the gamer looking for a controller with pro features, like the ScuffSync Pro or the Elite series controllers. Or a perfect second controller for someone looking for a bit more than what they currently have. Now in this video, I aim to help you decide if the GameSir G7 is a controller that you should pick up. And to do this, I shall be reviewing the controller in 4 categories, looking at pros and cons in each section, and ultimately, hopefully, help you make an informed decision on your purchase. Let's get into it. So as I said in the intro, we will be breaking this review into 4 main categories. Firstly, the price, including what's included with your purchase. Secondly, the design and key features, including aesthetics, design choices and any standout attributes the controller has, like the back paddles for example. Thirdly, how customizable the controller is, touching on any way you can make the G7 feel your own. We will also take a closer look at the companion software in this section, and how you can use it to make the controller suit you best. And lastly, and definitely most important, how does it feel to actually use? What is it like to play with? And would it suit your playstyle? But as always, please feel free to scrub through to whichever section you find the most interesting. So starting with the price and what's included in the box, as let's be honest, the price is usually one of the first things to be considered when making a purchase. And you will be pleased to hear that the GameSir G7 comes in at a moderately priced £45 to £50 in the UK, although I have seen it priced closer to the £40 mark. So a comparable price to that of a standard Xbox series controller. Although, as you will see in this review, the G7 does have a number of features that sets it apart. But hey, what's in the box? Well, for your money, you get the controller itself, a second white faceplate, which is a welcome addition, a 3-meter braided USB Type-C cable used for connecting the controller, as yes, this is a wired controller, and also some stickers and stuff. Initially out of the box, I was struck by how nice the G7 looked and felt, compared to other third-party Xbox controllers I've tried out at a similar price point. The additional faceplate I love and really easy to swap out on the fly. And the USB-C cable is a good length and surprisingly really high quality. It's actually very compatible to the cable that is supplied with the ScuffSync Pro, and has this sweet little GameSir branded cable tie, which I love, and really does come in handy. The sticker pack is a nice touch and includes instructions as well as a 1-month Xbox Game Pass code. And if you would like to get your hands on it, say something nice to me in the comments. You might get lucky. So with the controller suitably unboxed, it's time to have a look at what the G7 really has to offer. And as such, we move over to our second area of discussion, the design and key features. Starting off with the design, and as I've already said, this is a nice looking controller, which feels good in hand. It has a slightly slimmer profile than that of a standard series controller. The side grips are covered in a rubberized texture, which I much prefer to the dotted, almost sandpaper-like finish of the standard controllers. Moving on to the controller face, and we have a familiar controller layout, but there are a couple of nice design choices to talk about. Firstly, the thumbsticks, which feel good and come with anti-friction rings. There is a texturized grip around the edges, which is expected, but I must say I don't like the domed center area. I would have preferred a dip in the middle, but this is just personal preference. The D-pad has a responsive feel and I can't see many complaints. A super cool feature here is that GameSir have actually added the ability to control your headset volume just by holding the M button right here and then use the D-pad to set your volume, game and chat mix on the fly. Now this is actually a really cool feature that I'd like to see on some of the more official Xbox controllers. Now this bit may sound stupid, but my favourite part of the controller might be the face buttons. They have this almost clickable feeling that gives me major arcade machine vibes. They are a little smaller than usual, but I much prefer the feel compared to the more cushiony feeling I've been used to. They also give off this awesome, almost ASMR-like click. Listen. Now I would prefer if they weren't coloured, just to make it feel a bit more premium, but hey, you can't have it all. The triggers and bumper buttons have a texturized finish and feel very similar to other controllers. Although I have noticed how quiet the bumpers are, not giving off a clack every time I use them. I would say the triggers have nice travel and spring back quickly. Now we will touch on trigger dead zones later on in the video, but for now, being someone who is used to having hair triggers on his controller, I miss not having that hard end to a trigger pull. But I have noticed a slight feedback feel and sound when you initially pull the trigger. And I believe you could become pretty proficient in understanding when a trigger is registered, which could then make a difference in games like Halo or Call of Duty. Probably one of the main reasons many may have for being curious about the G7 would be the back paddles. 2 additional programmable buttons that can really make a difference when gaming. I've actually got a video link right here covering some advantages of back paddles, but for now I'll say they're the kind of feature that can take your gameplay to the next level, especially in shooters. The approach the G7 has taken with its back paddles is to incorporate them into the shape of the controller, and I must say they feel perfect for my hands. I can hardly notice them until I need to use them, and as I said, personally for me, they fit fine. I'm used to having the SCUF Instinct Pro and the Elite Series 2, premium controllers allowing you to have 4 back paddles available. But from personal experience, in my opinion, 2 paddles are enough. For example, I use one for A and one for B, allowing me to jump and crouch while still being able to have my thumbs on the sticks. So the 2 buttons the G7 offers, I would say, are sufficient and a good place to start. As this is a wire controller, you will need to be plugged in at all times, so the 3-meter cable length is very helpful. Now, in this day and age, you might be asking, why would you want a wire controller when you could just sit in comfort on a couch from any distance, wirelessly? While this is true, there are a couple benefits to playing wired. Firstly, you will never find yourself with low power or needing to quickly run around for batteries at a crucial time. And also, a wire controller will have less input lag, leading to faster reaction times, which may be beneficial when playing competitively. So overall, the controller feels good ergonomically and looks the part also, with some nice extra features to make it a step up. The 2 back buttons are a great addition, and the ability to change your headset volume straight from the controller is something I'd like to see incorporated in more products. But how about customizability? What can you do to make the G7 your own, to make it suit your playstyle? Well, the first and most obvious thing you can do to customize your G7 is to change the faceplate. And I love that GamesIR have included an extra white faceplate in the box. Now, if you're feeling creative, the white faceplate is paint friendly, allowing you to show off your arty side and design a unique cover yourself. It would be nice to have a few different colour options to choose from, however, but I'm sure this is something that will be on the way. Perhaps the star of the show when it comes to the GamesIR G7, especially when talking about customization, is the free GamesIR software app on Xbox and PC. It's actually a very powerful tool, allowing you to pinpoint almost every part of the controller to your specification. Starting off, it gives you free programmable profiles to customize. You do need to go into the app every time to change profiles, which is a little bit annoying, so a button on the controller to change on the fly would be welcome. But again, you can't have it all. Secondly, you have the ability to bind any of the face buttons to the 2 back paddles. Trust me, a game changer. Next, you have the ability to set your stick dead zones, allowing for more nuanced controller movements, faster reactions, and all that good stuff. And lastly, something I spoke about earlier in the video, the option to set trigger dead zones. Set how much of a trigger pull you need before the input is registered. You may have noticed the option on screen to set hair triggers, which is a cool feature. I must admit, however, this doesn't quite work as intended. I found it almost too sensitive. I wouldn't even have a finger on the trigger and I'd see my screen zooming in as if I was holding the left trigger. Now, this could just be my controller, but I suspect not. But with that being said, I would recommend setting the trigger dead zones to something with a little more travel. I found this to be so much more consistent, and once I got the hang of it, I got pretty proficient. As you can see with this app, as well as the ability to change your faceplate, the GamesIR G7 really does have a decent amount of customization, far more than a standard controller. Design features and customization is all well and good, but before deciding to purchase a controller, you want to know how it is under use. How does it feel to actually play with? Well, as I mentioned earlier, in hand it feels nice. It doesn't feel like a cheap third-party controller that you may be used to. It is light, which might be a benefit depending on how you look at it. The side grips are comfy and despite being rubbery, haven't felt slippy, and as of yet, haven't worn. I've had the G7 for a few months now, and I've been holding off on writing this review until I had a decent amount of time handling it. Having used it for a significant amount of hours, I feel safe in saying that I haven't noticed any problems. No sticky buttons, no broken bumpers, and no stick drift as of time of recording. The G7 is a sturdy little controller. As a mainly console gamer, I was a little worried about playing wired, given my living room setup. The length of the cable, however, is sufficient for me, and I managed to game from the couch, no problem. But if you live in a busy household with kids or pets, for example, a cable draped over the floor might not be a great idea. Just something to think about. The G7 also lacks the ability to connect to iPads, tablets, and phones, something that comes in the Xbox Series controllers as standard. But this is evened out by the added features like the back paddles, for example, found in the G7. So if you were to ask me if you should consider picking up a GamesIR G7, I would probably get you to think about it like this. If you're looking for a secondary controller just to play co-op when someone comes round, and you aren't really that interested in back paddles or dead zones, you should probably just pick up one of the original Xbox controllers. They have some pretty awesome colours available these days. Or, if you are all in on dead zones, back paddles, customization and competitive play, you should probably be looking at a SCUF or Elite series controller. But if you're looking for an affordable controller and love the idea of dipping your feet into the more competitive side of gaming, and are looking for some of the benefits you get from a pro controller, like the back paddles, hair triggers and programmable profiles, you won't go wrong in picking up a GamesIR G7. It really is a tough little controller, with great features such as the volume control options, some of my favourite back paddles I've ever used, terrific facebands and a very powerful software tool. And if you are comfortable playing wired all the time and don't see a lack of mechanical hair trigger a problem, or the ability to change between profiles apart from in-app, the GamesIR G7 is definitely a controller for you. So yeah, in this video I've looked at 4 areas and discussed some of my favourite things about the GamesIR G7, and I hope you found it beneficial in helping you decide whether to pick one up or not. If you have, remember to let me know. Drop me a comment and remember to hit that like button, and of course consider hitting the subscribe button also. It's completely free and it would really help me out. Thanks. But before we go, if the G7 isn't quite the controller you were looking for, you may be more interested in the more premium controllers. And I have a video right here comparing and contrasting the SCUF Instant Pro and the Elite Series 2, two of the best Xbox controllers on the market. Please feel free to have a look. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next time, I'll catch us.